Hi, everyone. This is Mac Pierre-Louis, attorney, mediator, arbitrator. I'm at TAM 2022, the Texas Association of Mediators annual conference in the Woodlands Resort in Houston, Texas, just north of Houston, Texas. Anyway, I'm here with special participant David Baca. And David attended the TAM conference alongside me, Natalia Tai, and all these other wonderful people. And wanted to just have them come back and kind of tell us about his experience, tell us about himself, and just get to know him a little bit better. So David, the floor is yours. Tell us about yourself, first off.
My name's David Baca, and I live in Humble, Texas, which is northeast Houston. I've been a mediator for 6 years. And I was trained by Dr. Barbara Manuso, and did all my 5 courses with her, and been mediating since January 2016. The kind of mediations I do are my company's intercultural conflict resolutions. So I'm skilled in intercultural conflicts. I've done PhD work in intercultural studies. I've lived abroad, 3 different countries, and I have done conflict resolution in each of the 3 countries I've lived in, and China, Mongolia, and Indonesia.
Okay.
And so a little different than mediation here in the States.
Yeah.
But
Well, tell us a little bit more about intercultural conflict. Like, give us a scenario. What will you typically be handling?
What I would typically be handling here would be possibly maybe you've got a husband and wife, 2 different cultures, and they're just having difficulty getting along. You know, they chose to marry, they were in love, and then all of a sudden, you know, just with any typical marriage,
Yeah.
you've got differences. Well, with 2 different cultures, those differences are heightened, you know, all the more. So I help, you know, those individuals navigate, you know, how to relate to each other. You know, oh, she doesn't understand me, he doesn't understand me. Well, you know, sure, you know, because you grew up in 2 different cultures of origin. Different intercultural conflicts could happen at work.
Yeah.
You know, where now, I mean, Houston is an incredibly, you know, diverse, multi-ethnic, you know, city. And, you know, so you've got different people from different cultures working in the same office, and they respond to things differently. And so, you know, and oftentimes, I mean, if they're having conflict and the HR, you know, isn't able to handle it because they're like, you know, I don't know how to fix this.
Yeah.
You know, because you don't want to lose either employee. They're good workers, but they're having a conflict relating to each other. And so that would be something
Fascinating. So I met you about 2 years ago, right before the pandemic started, and it was at the ACR Houston meeting. And so I remember from that conversation that you share that you're a reverend as well, right?
Yes.
And so, and I remember part of our conversation was how you help churches that are having difficulties either, I guess, split up amicably, or can you explain that a little bit? Because that was very fascinating to me.
Yes. As a minister, one of the kinds of mediation I do will be church mediation. And oftentimes there'll be conflicts within churches that, again, the minister is not able to resolve. He tries to help them. He tries to meet with them, but, you know, they just, you know, they take their positions and they don't want to give up their position. And, you know, so I would be possibly called in to help deal with that. Other times there would be a conflict between the minister and the congregation.
Yeah.
You know, maybe he's got a vision, he wants to take the church a certain way, and the congregation doesn't want to go that way. So there's a conflict. And so, you know, they're like, well, we can't fire him, you know, because we like him, but, you know, so it would be stepping into something like that and trying to help, okay, how can you bridge these 2 different directions that they want to go, and how can you bring that together? And as a minister, you know, I'm able to step into that more easily because I know the role of the church because I pastored before. So, you know, I've been a congregation member and I've been a pastor. So I'm able to help them navigate, you know.
You know the whole world. And
Right.
so I know on behalf of myself and Natalia Laskachayka, we would always be interested. So it's an open invitation to you to come and join us on the podcast to discuss more about this. It would be something that's very fascinating because we don't talk too much about this. And we typically focus on, you know, the typical divorce mediations or the bankruptcy mediations, but we realize that mediation impacts every part of our lives in every kind of relationship, because that's where the conflicts happen, right? So you're at TAM. Tell us, how was your TAM experience?
My TAM experience, was great. I mean, every time I've been to TAM, I mean, it's always been a wonderful experience seeing people that I've met, before, especially now because we didn't meet last year in person. So it'd been 2 years since I saw a lot of these people. And so that was great. The speakers were wonderful. Bill Eddy, high conflict, in a person, I mean, just outstanding. I met him 5 years ago at the TAM in San Antonio, and so it was great seeing him again, and he remembered me, and that's always kind of nice when the speaker's remembering you, that is. And but again, I mean, his presentation, was wonderful, about just, again, helping de-escalate, high conflict people, and in a way that that helps the parties, still move forward.
Exactly.
And so, yeah, and then Hesha Abrams, again, another outstanding presentation. And
we were hoping to get her on, but unfortunately, because of scheduling, couldn't work out this time around. But tell us about the hat, because this is one thing I always remember about you. Last time I saw you, I was like, he has a very iconic hat.
This hat is this has kind of become my trademark, and this is from Australia.
Yeah.
And
Nice.
and it's a wonderful hat. It's kangaroo, and it's a squashy hat, so you can literally fold it, and it will come back to shape. And I bought it from a guy here in the States. Even though I have been to Australia, I didn't find one when I was there that really worked for me. So I met this guy here in the States who sold them, and so. For a while, I started selling these. For a while, I was selling these as well.
Wow. So when we say you're diverse and you have specialty in helping people who are of diverse backgrounds and cultures work better together, you're the real deal, huh?
I try to think so.
Yeah, that's awesome because I'm originally from the Caribbean, was born in Haiti, and my business partner, she's from Poland. And so, two different parts of the world, right? And but I recall that you sharing some time ago that you've helped, I think it was Indonesia, intercultural disputes that were popping up between two different groups, right?
Yes.
Yeah. See, I remember this because I found our talk very fascinating. This is why I wanted to make sure that we chatted with you again. And I was very happy that Natalia told me that you were going to come on. But can you tell us just a little bit? We'll close with that.
Okay. When I was in Indonesia, I was there from 96 to 2002. And during that 6-year period, about the middle of that 6-year period, the economic collapse happened in Southeast Asia.
Yeah.
And that caused the local Indonesian currency to go from 1,250 rupiah to $1 to 18,000 to a US dollar overnight. And the Indonesian people just were fed up with the government at that point, and they pushed out the then president. Well, as a result of that, he was a very strong-armed president. He kept people in line. If people did anything wrong, they were dealt with. And so when he was no longer there, there was a lot of opportunity for Muslim extremists to make their way into Indonesia and to stir up trouble and to bring persecution against Christians. So when I was there, I helped the Christians who had been just, horrifically persecuted by the extremists, to try to figure out how do you respond to that.
Yeah.
I mean, I had people that, they'd been raped, family members murdered, their whole land, property was seized, and I really prayed and asked God. I said, what do I say? And the Lord gave me the words, and it was just simply, I know today you don't feel like forgiving. It's the furthest thing from your mind.
Yeah.
But as God says in the Word, that if you don't forgive, your Heavenly Father won't forgive you. So I know today you don't want to forgive these extremists that did these horrible things to you and your family. But at some point, you're going to need to say, God, give me the desire to want to forgive. Yeah. Because as a Christian, we are supposed to be forgiving people.
Yeah, it brings healing to yourself as well.
Definitely. It does. And and so just through the course of many conversations and many opportunities, the Lord did bring healing, to a variety of people, and God did, bring freedom to them, to let go of that anger, that hatred, that bitterness, because, that's just not any way to live.
Yeah, this is a good example of true reconciliation, right? So thank you so much for all the work that you've done in all these parts of the world. And I've lost count of all the countries that you've been in. So we're going to close with that. And any last words, please?
I would like to say one more thing.
Yes.
You mentioned, there's a lot of divorce mediation.
Yep.
And, myself, I've really noticed it seems like that the number one mediator is a divorce mediator in terms of numerically.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what about the marriages that could, maybe if you work on them, they won't fail.
Yeah.
So I've been, looking at getting, starting to do marital mediation.
To help with the goal of helping people stay together.
Yes, with the goal of helping people stay together.
Yeah.
And that's something that's on mediate.com.
Okay.
There's like 3 or 4 articles that I've discovered that were written like 10 years ago and 10 to 15 years ago. And it's like it never really caught on.
Yeah.
And so it's like, I've known couples that have had trouble. And as a pastor, I've counseled couples that have had trouble and been able to help them salvage their marriage, and their marriage ended up getting better.
Yeah.
So, I think in our culture, we just throw away marriages too quickly, too easily.
Well, I understand that. And so if you're there to bring a healing voice, then maybe we can save some of those marriages. So I greatly appreciate that. And I think, I do family law divorces myself. If I have clients who might be interested in salvaging a marriage, because some people, they doubt whether they really want to do it. Perhaps, we'll look you up. And thank you so much for your time and for sharing with us all you've done, all these experiences. We greatly appreciate it.
Thank you very much for having me. I've enjoyed being here today.
All right, guys, we're signing off from TAM 2022, and we will see you probably next year at TAM 2023 in San Antonio, and we hope you be there.
Yes.
All right.